Okay, got it. So now I have all of my sticks with me. I have all 5. Hopefully 6 by my birthday. Anyways, I have to get the stick is because it's the only stick that I have that has Hori buttons in it anymore. This is the Mad Catz Alpha. The stick itself doesn't mean anything, but it's got Hori Hayabusa buttons. And if there was one button that I wish was mass produced that you could like buy, that you didn't have to buy an arcade stick to get these buttons, it's these. They're very, very nice, low profile buttons. They feel so nice. Like I've never had miss inputs using these buttons ever. And they're very they don't have like a tactile bump or anything. They're still like a linear switch, like a Sanwa button or a 60 button. But like they're very nice because they're lower profile, so they take less time to actuate, and they're matte finish. I really like the matte finish of these. Unlike like, can't really go wrong with Sanwa. I have Sanwas in 2 of my arcade sticks. So if someone handed me an arcade stick like this Razer Panther Evo that I talk shit about all the time, has a cat hair all over it because my cats like to jump back here. Hey, what up, malfunction? What up, malfunction? Yeah, so this, tell me about your buttons. That's what I'm doing right now. So this is a Razer Panther Evo. This is a very standard arcade stick that you could buy at a store, like $200. I don't think it's worth $200, but don't buy this thing for $200. You can find it used. Wonderful. Get it for like 150, 120. I got this for 120 brand new, still in the box, and it was wonderful. But these are just Sanwa buttons. It came with like Razer mechanical buttons. I put on Sanwa buttons, and I don't hate them, right? But they have a very stampy sound. They have a very classic sound. You know that sound. If you grew up in any arcades that use like Japanese parts, right? You know this sound. It's very common. This joystick. Oh, I think this is actually a Hori joystick. Oops, I had to take the old joystick out because it was broken. Anyways, that's a whole nother issue, but all buttons are reliable. There's nothing really wrong with them. They're just really loud, and they're not, I don't like the, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't like the concaveness of, the convexness of them. Pac-Man arcade pad? I don't like the concaveness of them, or convexness. Concave. Convex. They're very narrowly. They're not flat. Seimitsu's, there are flats. I've been meaning to try. I've tried PS cans? I tried cans. I tried their translucent models, but I've never tried their solid color models. I think they're the PS14s and PS15s. I've never tried them. I don't have a full reference of how dope they would be. And all these buttons, the cool part about Hori's and Sanwas, or mainly Sanwas and Seimitsu's, is you can buy them aftermarket. It's very hard to buy buttons aftermarket. You have to get them off of a joystick that came with Hori buttons. This one right here. This is the Hori Fighting Stick Alpha. It came out like 2 years ago for the Xbox Series X and S, and it also works for Xbox One. And it comes with the Hori low profile button for Hayabusa button. So I ripped those off of this and put them on here. Oops, I hit my mic. And put them on here. I would really love another set of these. I would love to have an additional set of these buttons because they're just so nice. They're godlike, super nice, very fast, very responsive. The only reason why I'm not using them is my favorite button exists. Let me wrap this cord up. There's no cable management on this little bad boy, so I just wrap the cord up and put it in my backpack. This is for if I ever like go to a friend's house or want to go to locals and just have an extra stick so someone wants to use a stick. This just stays in my backpack for that reason. All right. Grab Old Faithful back here. This is Old Faithful. We're just talking about buttons. We'll talk about joysticks later. Or in a second. This is Old Faithful. This is my Mad Catz TE Xbox. This came out before the TE2 Plus on the PS4. Okay. This does not have a touchpad because it was not compatible with that console. This is an Xbox stick. Is your toy. This is 100% my toy. Yes, this is the original toy. This is my second arcade stick that I had during this generation. The first was a Convo Obsidian. I sold that because, well, I didn't really use it too much anymore. Looking back, I regret selling it because I don't know, I'd have 6 arcade sticks back here if I hadn't sold that Convo Obsidian. Anyways, I really like this stick, but we're not here to talk about the stick. We're here to talk about the parts on it. We're gonna talk about the parts on it. These are my favorite buttons. There's only one thing wrong with these buttons, and we'll talk about that in a second. These are the Convo Gravity buttons. They are a mechanical switch button. These are screw type buttons, not snap-ins, because snap-ins eventually will wear down inside of the case, and the tabs will break, and they'll be useless. You'll have to buy new buttons. You have to buy like a new housing for the button. You can keep the top, and you can keep the switch properly, but you have to buy new housing, because eventually those tabs will snap if you're constantly changing out buttons, or if you just say you take your buttons out to clean them, which you should. Put them back, eventually those tabs wear down over time. There's nothing you can do about that. It's just wear and tear that comes with snap-in buttons. Hori Hayabusas, snap-in buttons. Basic Sanwas that aren't screw type, snap-in buttons. Seimitsus, they have screw type, but they also have snap-in buttons. The PS14 and PS15s are snap-ins. Yikes. Right? But these screw type. These screw type. They'll fit in anything. The only thing that kind of gets in the way is sometimes a like a what's this called? A mounting plate will get in the way. This was very hard to get in, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to get this button out without cracking this the screw nut. But that's a problem with the stick. That's a problem with the Vuelix layout. Which is the thing that will bring my cord that's in. Yeah, these buttons are so nice. They're very fluffy. They're very fast. It's a mounting plate. Yeah, the mounting plate. But the mounting plate really only gets in the way with the Vuelix layout. Anyways, these buttons, listen to that sound. Is the sound even being triggered? I don't even know if the sound is being triggered. Couldn't you stand the edges a little? I could. I haven't got around to it. But the bigger issue is that the stick is just too close to the buttons. Especially for like a one-player setup, because this is essentially a one-player setup. This stick could be further this way, and the buttons could be better angled. Because that's just how this is the Vuelix layout. There's different arcades to play. Anyways, these buttons are very fluffy, very fast. They're not as they're not like low-profile buttons like Seimitsus or Hayabusas, but they have a tactile bump. These are like a mechanical switch button, like same thing that you'd find in like a gaming keyboard. Or the gamer finger buttons, or Crown SDB202s. I've tried Crowns. I think I have the Metallic Series Crown. I really like those buttons. I really like the mechanical Crown buttons, but there was one issue. As cool as it was to be able to change out the switch on the inside, if you creak that thing open just slightly too much, then the switch won't stay in the housing anymore. Because it has like two tabs, kind of like the tabs on like a snap-in button, on the inside of the button where the housing is kept for the micro switch, because you can change out the micro switch. Not gonna lie, your hair kind of looks like a crackhead. Yeah, I need to pick it. I haven't picked my hair. It's a little wild for the past like few weeks. Yeah, you're barely noticing it. Maybe it's because I don't have like the Just Chatting cam on very often, so you can't see just how wild my hair has gotten. I want to get it braided. My hair is a mess. My hair is definitely a mess. But yeah, these are my favorite buttons. They pop off pretty easy. Like you can take the top off if you need to. You can like maintenance the button. I can't find one thing that's Beanie More Thug true. I can't find one thing that I dislike about this button, except we're gonna go to our live screen. So here I am on the website that I buy most of my arcade stick parts from. This is called Arcade Shop. I buy most of the things that I like from here. Let me go to the chat box. We can't see y'all's chat because I don't have the chat box thing in the way. Let me put the chat box frame. There we go. I don't have the chat box frame there, so now we can see y'all's messages. Anyways. I feel like your hair makes you discover the wheel and fire. Yes, I discovered fire and the wheel. The wheel is the Wheel of Fate is turning from Blaze Blue, and fire. Why do you have Moist on Twitter? Oh, Hotashi, you'll see in a second. That's for a later discussion. That's Hotashi, Moist Hotashi, like Moist Esports. Anyways. So if I go over to push buttons, I'm in the push button section actually. So, oh God, what did I do? Go back. See, these are some nice buttons. Really, really dig these buttons, but they have to be on sale, and you can't really find like the basic black ones sometimes. They have white, and they have this weird like brownish color. Here's my favorite button. 30mm mechanical push buttons, the Convo Gravity buttons. They have them in 3 different types. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, there's a certain type of controller that exists now that I really want to try one day. I gotta pick one of these up. And there's an issue with this controller, or I guess my favorite buttons in this controller. hitboxes, usually, if you didn't know, use all 24mm buttons except for the jump button, except for the up button. They're all 24mm. They don't make 24mm combo gravity buttons. That's it. That is the only thing that stops me from saying these are the best buttons to ever exist. Literally, is that they don't make 24. Why is the bottom button big? Cringe? Because the way you hold your hands, you bring your hands in like this. And so you use it for your thumb. And some people actually use their thumb on the button with both thumbs, right? So because you're gonna use that, because you're gonna use your thumb, and maybe even both thumbs, they wanted it to be bigger than the other button. I saw an arcade stick or like a hitbox layout where all the buttons except the left-hand side are big. The left-hand side is still 24s and everything else is big. So I could use on one of those aftermarket hitboxes, or if I built my own from like a B&B Fight Stick case or an All Fight Sticks case and use that layout, I could use combo gravities, but otherwise I can't use gravities because they only come in 30mm. That's it. That is the only reason. That is literally the only reason. Yeah, like think of it like a space bar. The big button at the bottom, because it's jump, it's up in like 2D fighters. Think of that as your space bar. Like every game where you like shooting games, your space bar is jump. Shout out to my friend who has like the noisiest fucking key. Buy a 30mm and sand it down, that doesn't work because the housing is different. It will not fit. You'd actually have to make all of these holes bigger, but it's impossible because of how big the layout is. It's impossible. Can't do it, unfortunately, right? You literally cannot do it. It doesn't work. So that is the only problem with the gravities. Otherwise, I'd say that the gravities are like the sickest button ever. But like, so essentially, I'll use some Sanwas, I'll use some Seimitsus. Crowns, I've had a bad experience with crowns. I've tried gamer fingers and they're cool. And they're very customizable. I have no problem with them. I just don't like how fucking expensive they are and hard to come by sometimes. Like you literally have to sit around in a Discord sometimes to get a hold of gamer finger buttons because they go on sale and they're just gone. And you just have to wait for them to make more, which is a little shitty. Same thing with Horis. Horis are not always full out on display. I can't get basic matte black Horis. I have to get these. Like I could go here to Hori and look what they have. They have the blacks. They're sold out of white, red, and blue. They're sold out of the other 3 colors. They only have black. So I could buy another set. Cool, badass. I'll have it for later. But I can't buy whites if I wanted them. I can't buy blues and I can't buy red because these only come off of Hori products. So like say someone buys a Hori arcade stick from Arcade Shock, what they do, big brain, watch this. What they do is if they sell a customized version of a Hori stick, they rip the buttons out of it and they put in the other buttons. They don't even give the customer the original buttons. They say, oh, you want Sanwas in it? Or, oh, you want Gamer Fingers in it? Or you want Seimitsus in it? Badass. And they take those parts out and they put all the parts in the case that you want and they sell it to you. You never see the original Hori Hayabusa lever. You never see the original Hori Hayabusa buttons, ever. Don't even see them. They stay in the factory and they sell them to other people. That's why they're out of the other colors and only have black left. That's the story. But on the topic, Joysticks, I probably should have left that open, honestly. Let's go back to Arcade. I'm going to go back to Arcade Shock. I love this website. I fucking love this website. Joysticks. On the topic of joysticks, I think currently my favorite joysticks, I'll use a Sanwa. I've tried a crown lever. I'm not a big fan of the rubber grommet Korean stuff. American levers are really hard to put in. They're just thick. They're big. I think I'll pass. My favorite lever right now is actually the Seimitsu lever. It's actually, this is a Seimitsu, let me look it up. Let me look it up. I actually don't know which lever this is. Seimitsu silent lever? I think that's what I have. I don't know what it's, are they out of the Seimitsu silent joystick? No shot. Do they just not sell it anymore? I wonder what handles would feel like in competitive games. What do you mean handles? Here it is. It's the LSQ40. This is the joystick I currently have on my baby and my baddest bitch and my all-time favorite in the day one, the A1. I have a Seimitsu silent lever in this with a Sanwa bat top. Sanwa joystick handles. I wonder what like joystick handles? Well, it just depends on like what you want, right? I use bat tops on all my sticks because I grew up with American arcades and we used bat top. And the fighting games I take the most serious, i.e. Soul Calibur, are 3D fighters. And I really like bat top for 3D fighters, right? All my sticks just have back tops now, so I can pick it up and use it for Tekken, for Virtual Fighter, for Soul Calibur if I need to, and I will just adjust and use a bat top for 2D games. No problem, right? Koreans do the same thing. Most Korean lovers come with a bat top, and Koreans are just as good at Street Fighter and other 2D fighters like that as any other players in the world. There can be good players everywhere, right? I use this Seimitsu silent lever in this stick. I have a Hori in the Razer. I need to put another spring in it. I don't like how loose standard Sanwa and Hori springs are. I don't. I do not like how loose Hori and Sanwa joysticks feel. Okay, I like the parts that are inside of it. I like the tactile feel. I like the click of the micro switches. None of that's a problem. I just don't like how they snap back to center, and sometimes they snap in the opposite direction. You're really beating the fuck. Hold on. You're really just beating the fuck out of your shit. When you let it go, sometimes it'll snap back to center and go the opposite direction. With this Seimitsu lever, I've never had that problem. Had it happen with Hori's, had it happen with Sanwas. I need to get a tighter spring. I think they come with like a normally they come with a 1 pound spring. I think I want to try like a 3 or 4 pound spring. For my favorite ball tops, can't go wrong with the Sanwa ball top. What's up? What's the question? Can't go wrong with the Sanwa ball top. I have no problem with any of the ball tops. I really like the EX mesh ones. Could you somehow butt a little bit of an overlay on the button to make it fit in a 20 millimeter? Well, then I use 20 millimeter holes for hitboxes. If that's what you're referring to, are you referring to this hitbox? These are 24 millimeters. But there's no way, with how close these things are to each other, depending on the stick, right? If you have like a custom stick with like your fingers super fucking spread out and shit like this, yeah, surely you could probably like drill out that hole and like make a 30 millimeter button fit in there. But no, you can't make a bigger button fit in a smaller hole. Okay, I don't know if have you ever been in middle school or in, I think this is grade school. This is like elementary school. What's the average button size that I use? The button size is 30. I play on standard arcade sticks that use 30 millimeter buttons. The only 24 millimeter buttons on my sticks are for the start and select buttons. Same thing with my Razer. Start and select buttons over here on the side, they're black, so a little harder to see. Just standard 24 millimeter buttons. Hey, Remy, cat behind me. Right? Yeah, the size. Those are 24s. But for that. All the start and select. So what you're saying is make a new. You're not. I feel like you're not understanding how arcade sticks work. If I were to pull this button out, there's a metal fucking panel under here with 30 millimeter holes already in it. I would have to make an entirely new panel to fit 24s on this bitch if I wanted to. I like 30 millimeters. I wouldn't do that. And same thing with this hitbox. Under this, there's a metal fucking plate with 24s and 130 millimeter holes. I think they're probably like 22 point. I barely go into arcade sticks, so you don't mess with that. So now I'm explaining that to you. So you could make a custom plate for this, or you spread out the buttons a little bit more and make them all 30 millimeter, and then bada bing, bada boom, I can fit my gravities on there. But I think the way that this controller is already designed is perfectly. The fact that 24 millimeters already don't exist for these buttons is actually the real issue. I shouldn't have to go into like a deep dive modding trick to make the buttons that I like fit on this arcade stick. They should just make a 24 millimeter version of this button, because that makes way more sense. Because most people aren't going to change their hitbox in that way, because this layout is specifically meant to be ergonomic. So if you make those buttons bigger, it may no longer be ergonomic. You feel? Yeah. So what I was saying was, I just don't like the looseness of Sanwa and Hori springs. They're 1 pound springs. I need to change them to like 4 or something. I have 2 Sanwa sticks and 2 Hori sticks, and the one Seimitsu. I need to get like tighter springs for those 2 sticks, the ones with the Horis. Button too big, make me small. Hey, what up, Dustin? Just to try it out, because maybe the real issue is just the spring. I think that's it, because I love my Hori lever. My Hori saddle lever that First silent lever I have in this, I fucking love this lever. I absolutely love this lever. My favorite. These 30mm buttons, they are too big for your body. You are a small person. You need 24mm buttons for very small person hands. Hi, Jelly. But it just, when it snaps back sometimes, I wish I could show you guys. We can get close. So watch this. When it snaps back, it kind of wants to go into the opposite direction. So if I jump, what if I get a crouch, right? That never happens with my Finity. It probably never will. And then when it does, that means the spring needs to be replaced. I should change all those springs. Favorite levers, or a Hayabusa lever, probably with a 4-pound spring. I think that's what I'm gonna need. And the and the Senmitsu LSQ 40MS. Favorite levers. My favorite tops. I have recently discovered that I am a big fan of the EX Gear matte bat tops. I used to have I have an aluminum bat top on this bad boy, and it's actually mad fucking heavy. It's mad heavy. I'm probably gonna play the Synchro event for Master Duel. Mad heavy, super fucking heavy. It's nice. I think if I was on a heavier stick instead of this super tiny stick, this aluminum bat top would be dope. Oh my favorite. I don't know what it is about this bat top. I don't know what it is. But the Crown Samduxa, shiny, like a glossy finish bat tops are so nice. Oh, it just feels nice to hold. Something about this bat top is fucking, it just hits all the right buttons. No pun intended. I want to get crowns for all of my sticks that have like a non-glossy. This is a Kaded clear bat top, or a Soma clear bat top. Nothing wrong with it. For a long time, I thought it wasn't countersunk. I mean, it was a different size because it's not countersunk, but it's the same size. It just makes the joystick slightly taller, which is very weird. Okay, what you say? Let me read that. How big is the button upside down, like the lip of the button? Probably a lot smaller. I can actually take one of these out because they're buttons. Hold on. I can take one of these out. That way, that one. I knew which way to unscrew. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Upside to screw buttons. Look how easy that was to take out. Screw buttons out. So, I think it looks like it's roughly the same size. So if I were to bring this up here, well, I wouldn't want to. I'd rather than just make a 24mm button. See that? And then when I flip it, it looks like the only thing that's bigger is the lip itself. The lip looks bigger. The outside rim thingy, but like this part of it looks the same size. So this is a 30mm button through and through, because what goes through the hole, this lip sits on the top. This lip doesn't go through the hole. So if this is a 30mm hole and this slides right in, or 30.1, right? It'd be a 30.1mm hole. Did you take out your switch and put it on a 24? They don't make a casing that fits this switch, because this switch is specifically made by the company that makes these buttons. This is a very specific switch. Hold on. This is, let me go over to the page. Go over to the page. Super glue fixes all my problems. I am not super gluing or gluing anything inside of an arcade stick. Please never own an arcade stick if you want to super glue anything. I'm just going to throw that up there. They're Omron white switches. But if you look at this compared to like a standard switch on like, I don't know. Let me go look up an MX Speed Silver switch, which is what I used to use in the Crowns. SMX? Okay. MX Speed Silver. Look at the difference. This is what I used to use in my Crown Samduxa buttons. Look at that compared to this. It is very different. This is almost close to like a normal keyboard switch. Like you could give someone those switches and someday put keyboard caps on it. Yeah, these you can put keyboard caps on. This is what goes inside of most. This is what goes inside of most computers, like gaming computers, like most mechanical keyboards, like very high priced ones, like a Razer mechanical keyboard or like a Logitech one. They use MX switches. Whether they be silvers, reds, blues, silent reds, silent blacks, greens. There's so many different colors of MX switches, okay? But these right here, these are very different and very hard to mod. But I like the feel of them. I have no problem with them. I just wish they would make a 24 millimeter button. That's all they need to do. Make a 24 mil. Oh, God. There's one thing. These things are not a one-size-fit-all thing. They are very, very finicky when it comes to putting them on. You need to make sure that when you put the cap back on, you put it on right. So search Resin Buttons. The other one seems like Resin Buttons. They're not. They're Omron. I just told you what they are. It even says it in the thing. Let me go back to it. Omron. Boop. Omron white tactical mechanical switch. And there's Omron blues, Omron grays, Omron greens. There's like a bunch of different Omrons. Okay, it's back on. It's still working. I didn't break it. I can still be a gamer. All right.